Hey, it's Justin the house guy. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I have a lot of homeowners, and the first question we always ask, how much is my home really worth? And it sounds like a simple question, I know, but sellers, agents, appraisers, buyers, we all come to very different answers. And today I'm going to show you two real life examples, two very different outcomes. One property started at nearly $200,000. It went through repeated price reductions. It was withdrawn, relisted, and it ultimately sold for $139,000. The other home was listed at $220,000. It went under contract in only 5 days. The difference wasn't simply the homes. No, 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 no. The difference was how each home was positioned in the market. The first home, two bedroom, one bath, 1,000 square feet in Anderson, South Carolina. And I had previously looked at this home and I thought a realistic value was right around $150,000. Well, this particular seller ultimately chose a different realtor and they started out at a substantially higher listing price. I'm not showing this to attack the agent or even poke fun at the seller. No, 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 no. I'm doing this as a way for us to learn how things are marketed, what the idea comes from a buyer, and how a buyer perceives a property. So let's get into it. Again, it started out at $199,000. And 7 months later, it sold for $139,000. So on July 2nd, homeowner put the house on the market for $199,000. This is July 2025. Within a few days, 10 days, they lowered it to $189,000, a $10,000 drop. And then just 4 days later, they dropped it to 165. That's a $34,000 price reduction in just a few weeks. And then by the middle of August, the price had been reduced to $150,000. The range that I had originally believed what was the value of the home. By then, the home had already been on the market for a couple of months and it had been exposed to several buyers at the higher prices. And eventually, the price dropped to $145,000 and then it was taken off the market. And then it came back on the market at 155. Again, it continued to have price challenges, price changes, and ultimately it did close 7 months later for $139,000. So the original asking price was 199,000. The final sales price was 139,000. A $60,000 difference. This graph shows us exactly what chasing the market looks like. Here's the point. Starting at a high price did not produce a higher net sale. The seller eventually accepted an offer less than the price range that I recommended and could have started at the beginning. Overpricing a home did not produce seller's equity. All it did was delay the market's answer. Let's go to another property and compare it with a house at 4 South 2nd Street, Greenville, South Carolina. This is one of my listings. It was a two bedroom, two bath, and approximately 1,590 square feet. We listed this property at $220,000. Rather than beginning with an aspirational number and waiting to see what happened, the goal here was to study the competition and position the home exactly where buyers would immediately recognize the value. Well, recognize the value they did. It went under contract in 5 days. 5 days. The kind of response usually doesn't happen by accident. Correct positioning and proper pricing attracts the attention of buyers while the listing is still fresh and new on the market. Buyers receive alerts. Agents are sending the property to their clients, looked at competing homes, and immediately know what's out there. When this listing arrives in their inbox, they know what the alternatives. When the value is obvious, buyers feel pressure to act before someone else does. That's exactly what we created urgency in the process. Now, pricing a home properly doesn't guarantee that it's going to get sold in 5 days. Different properties, different locations, condition, price. A well positioned home gives itself the strongest possible opportunity during a period when buyer attention is highest. Look at the two outcomes, the two properties. One sat on the market for 7 months, started high at $199,000. It went under repeated price reductions. It was even withdrawn from the market. It was under contract a few different times. Then it was relisted and eventually sold for $139,000. On the other side, the property that was listed for $220,000, it went under contract in 5 days. The lesson is that buyers respond relative to value. Buyers are not asking whether or not the seller likes the price. No, the buyers are asking whether this house is better purchase than what else is out there on the market. Is this better than the alternatives at the same time, at this particular month? Are the payments going to be similar? Are taxes similar? The seller may choose the listing price, but a buyer chooses whether that price represents the value as seen in the marketplace. We learn from buyers. Well, let's consider what a buyer goes through when determining value. First, they're going to compare the price against all the other alternatives out there. What else can they purchase for the same price range? Second, they're going to consider what's the condition of this home? What repairs might I have to do in the near future? They're going to look at the age of the roof, HVAC system, flooring, paint, any deferred maintenance. Are these going to add additional costs? Third, location. How close is it to the schools we go to? How close is it to work? Is it a lot of noise? Is it fourth? Oh, the big one. What's my monthly payment? Buyers are not only shopping for price, they're shopping for overall costs. So interest rate right now is a big consideration. Property taxes, insurances, HOA fees, all of this goes into the total affordability picture. Fifth, the layout and functionality. Bedrooms, bathrooms, storage, the flow of the home, the usable space. And last but certainly not least, every buyer is ultimately asking, why should I choose this home instead of the other homes on the market? That is why value is not created merely by placing a number on a home for sale. No, 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 no. Value is all of these combined. So what does a seller take away from this? Well, yes, price drives attention. The original price determines which buyers are going to see this home and which homes it competes against, and whether buyers believe it deserves a showing or not. Second, does the price drive value? Buyers compare the home against the alternatives. If another property offers better condition, better location, better functionality, better affordability, buyers may never make an offer on an overpriced home. They may never even set up a showing for an overpriced home. And last, positioning. Price drives positioning. It drives the speed the home is going to get sold. Well-priced homes create a sense of urgency early on in the listing. Overpriced homes often create hesitation in the buyer's mind. From a seller, What should a seller do? Number one, they should study the competition. Their agent is going to know what else is out there and what are you competing against. Don't just look at what's nearby that's sold, but look at what's available now. That's your competition. Because what sold 1, 2 years ago is no longer on the market and the prices are completely different. So it's today. What are we competing at today? Second, price. Price it for today. Like I'm saying, yesterday's peak or 2022's peak doesn't determine today's value. Get the home prepared. Get it in the best possible condition. Best presentation, excellent photographs. Cleanliness is second only to godliness, they say. Get all the necessary repairs done. Influence what a buyer is going to increase the value of this home. Number four, of course, create a sense of urgency. I mean, the first 7 to 14 days are extremely important when it comes to getting a home sold. So you want this to be the best priced home in that window of opportunity because that's when buyers are paying attention. That's when agents are sharing the property the most. You don't want to waste that opening window and price the home so high that it doesn't get sold and it sits on the market for days. So if you're considering selling your home, ask your agent what buyers are purchasing right now. What is out there that buyers are rejecting? And what will bring the most buyers to my home with the best competitive price to maximize my return on investment? I mean, I know myself and my team, we'd rather give a seller an honest price review before getting the home on the market than let the market teach us a lesson that we already know and a lesson that's going to come months later. Visit the house guy, request a pricing review, and see what buyers are out there in today's market for your home. We appreciate your time.